Hello and welcome to another edition of your podcast, Sickle Cell Role Models and Mentors. My name is Ayok Bison Anshantal. I am your host. And in this edition of the podcast, we will be speaking to a dynamic lady warrior. Her name is Akwa Constance Nji. Mrs. Akwa Constance Nji is an educator, an author, a data scientist, and a machine learning engineer. She's also the project manager of Break Sickle Circle, an SCD patient SCD group based in Cameroon. She is the CEO and co-founder of Women on a Mission in Cameroon. She's a geoscientist, a sickle cell advocate. This dynamic lady is going to be talking to us about sickle cell disease and career, sickle cell disease and access to medication, sickle cell disease and access to blood, all of this with the focus country being Cameroon. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Sickle Cell Role Models and Mentors. Thank you for joining us and for being our role model of the month for this edition. And it's a pleasure getting to meet with you. So we'll just dive straight into the questions. And if you can just tell us, who is Mrs. Akwa Constance Nji?
I'm that person that wakes up every day knowing that even with sickle cell, I should be able to make a difference in the society. My voice should be able to count for something. I should be able to take one action that will be able to change the life of somebody. So that is Constance.
Wow, that's already a catchphrase, make your voice heard and for somebody and change something for somebody. Now, tell us, how did this all start? How did the young warrior that you were decide to go down this path?
Everything started from a place of pain, a place of limitation. As a sickle cell little girl growing up, I faced a lot of rejection, a lot of fear that kept me in a corner that I was not very comfortable about. But at the same time, I was asking myself this question. Is there no way for me to make my voice heard? Is there no way for me to be seen? Is there no way for people to think about me in a different light other than what they see me now? Education became my escape. I later found out that I could use education as a weapon to rewrite my narrative. Now, I used to read a lot during my moments of isolation because I was mostly always isolated. And during the holidays, in my secondary school days, I would read my mother's study material for CWF so much, read the Bible so much so that I started preparing her lessons for her. I love geography, and I also fell in love with geography because it has been one of my best subjects since secondary school days.
Wow.
It didn't just come out of the blue because it helped me to understand the world, and it took me to a place of imagination. Like I will always imagine, how would this thing look like that? Saying this thing like that, how does it look like? And in some way, I was also reimagining myself. What if my life was like this? What if my life was like this? So I can say that maybe geography helped me to understand the world and maybe myself too. So writing books now was not just about teaching, but it was a way to show myself that I am worthy and to also tell the world that warriors can also achieve excellence.
Wow. Reimagining yourself. That's powerful. Not just being who people have seen you or made it in their mind for who you are, but restructuring yourself. That's a word that I think some warrior needs to take back home after this podcast. Now, let's talk a bit about career growth. How did you manage your health and sickle cell disease as you developed in career? What is a day like for you now at work or at home with all what you do?
Okay. The days are not usually the same. For example, some days you wake up very strong. There are other days that you wake up fragile. But for every day, for me, waking up, first of all, means being grateful.
Okay.
I'm grateful for being up, for being alive. And secondly, I always like to affirm my day, to tell myself that I am okay. I will have a great day. I can do this. Now, there are times that I even say some of those things and I'll laugh at myself. I'll say, Constance, in this your situation, this is what you are saying. But I still try to believe and try to hope that maybe in the next hour, in the next day, in the next week, I will be much more better. So it's all about being grateful, affirming, and then preparing myself for work. There are times that I work indoors and there are times that I have to go and also work outdoors. So preparing for outdoors, I have to put my materials together. I have to take care of my health, like, okay, my water bottle, am I taking hot water? Is it normal water? What is the weather out there? What is my outfit for the day? And things like that. I have to put them together. I breakfast and I have to begin my day. And most importantly, I do try to listen to my body very well, because there are times that the body will say, no, you have to rest. You have to pause. There are times that you just need to rise and get going. Growing in my career has been very difficult. It took longer than usual. Why? Because though I never repeated classes in my academics, but there were periods where I had to pause because of health and because of finances before I picked up again. So I've gone through, it took me so many twists and turns to be able to be where I am today. I had to be a master of so many trades to be able to survive and get the finances to get me to where I am today. There were periods that my body was there are periods that my body is very strong, days that I'm very strong, periods in my career that I know that I can push hard, I can push forward. Those periods, I don't let them go by. I do extra. I push forward. I do extra because I know that there will always be the rainy days in terms of crisis, in terms of fragile periods in my health where I will not be able to do those things. As such, I'll try to cover the lapses in my job. So that is one of the things that I do. But I also have to be truthful in the sense that there are some very long periods that I had that I was inactive. I was out of my job. For example, end of 2022, the entire 2023, part of 2024 and part of 2025, I had real health complications, respiratory issues, pulmonary infections, pneumonia, thrombosis, and eye complications. I had to even get my eyes operated upon. So at this moment, it was really a hard one for me. I started asking myself a lot of questions. What if this is the end of the road for me outdoors? What if I lose my job? What if I'm unable to, the health does not even permit me to go back to the job, even if it is waiting for me? So this period made me to think a lot, to restructure some of my objectives, and I went back into study. When I was strong enough indoors to do something, I went back into studies online. And that is when I did data science, project and grant writing, project management, monitoring and evaluation, because I discovered that there were some skills that if you have them, it can be possible for you to get your job done while indoors. You must not necessarily expose yourself outside. So that's what got me to continue studying. So to me, there is really no dull moment. Every moment that I'm down in pain, I keep thinking of the next step that I have to take. I used to plan my day a lot around people's expectation of me, my work, and everything, because I grew up seeking validation. I wanted people to see me, to know that I exist. But that was a negative approach, though it got me somewhere. But today I'm trying to look at discipline and self-care. Right. I want to plan my day around my own energy first. If I plan my day around my own energy, then I can be able to give out to others.
Yeah, and you just landed into the next question that I wanted to ask, because I was about to ask at the place of work, what kind of reaction do you get from your fellow professionals? Do they know about your health, and what would you advise a young warrior who aspires to walk a similar path? What would you advise them to do?
Yes, I am really open about my situation. At first, I was hiding it, but it's really difficult to hide it from your place of work. That's one place that I've never hidden my situation. At first, I was hiding it. It took me a long time to understand certain things and be able to come out of my shell. And when I came out of my shell, I discovered that I started healing even from within. Some of those hurts, some of those sadness that I had were lifted up from me. So it's good to always be open, because silence can really be heavy, because when you hide it, you live in fear. And when you live in fear, there are certain times that you might discover that you need to lie to be able to cover up for a situation that you are going through. So I would just like to tell my young warriors out there that you don't need to shrink yourself. You need to walk in your truth. This condition, you did not make it. And the condition does not make you less capable. You are capable, but it makes you more conscious. It makes you more compassionate, and it makes you more human. Your condition should not be what would define you. So that is what I have to say for those young warriors out there, to stand up tall.
You don't have to shrink yourself. Having sickle cell makes you more compassionate, more conscious. And I think that's some points that some warriors miss out, especially in the area of place of work, which makes it that they don't see that somehow they could pull from their situation as warriors, pull a benefit from it, if we can use that word, to make them keep going, which others out there may be taking their health for granted, and they're not using that power. And that's very good advice. Now, stigma is one of the issues a lot of people who live with sickle cell disease, or even those who care for people who live with sickle cell disease, face, and they often dread that a lot. Have you ever come across stigma related to you being a warrior, and what has been your experience with stigma, like in school, for example, or at work?
I have faced a lot. Oh, I have really faced a lot. I can say stigma was my second name. Let me put was, because to me it's in the past. Stigma was my second name. I faced it a lot: school, work, relationships, and was still in the village community where I grew up. That is where it all started. There I was seen as an unfit. They called me all sorts of names: Obanje, witch, dry thing, if I may put it in pidgin. You dry, so your hand day. Some of them even went as far as telling my parents that I was a witch that was sent from the spiritual world to come and dry them off their finances. In school, it was not also easy. My peers, my teachers, they knew that I was sick. I had one kind of sickness. They really didn't understand much about sickle cell. So most often my classmates, they will isolate me, because that one that will play now and cry the next moment and things like that. They did not interact more with me. Some of my teachers, they called me a big baby, weakling, and most of them had the notion that before the age of 21, I would die. So I really faced a lot. But I didn't really allow that to actually define me, because at one point in time, the isolation became my place of comfort. Now I was asking myself a lot of questions. Am I really worthless? Am I alone? What is happening? And at one point in time, it became my driving force. I told myself that I will not remain in one place. I will prove to myself that I can be able to do something, even in the condition that I find myself. And it's for this reason that after advanced level, I got independent. You'll be shocked that I left my parents.
Wow.
I left
That's bold.
my home. I left my region of origin, the center region, the northwest region, and I found myself battling with life in the center region.
Wow. That's something a lot of warriors won't do. Even now, with the technology and everything, it's often difficult to see warriors, transit from the pediatric stage, childhood, and break that dependence on parents. That was really courageous. So, your reaction to stigma, did it make you be who you are? Would you say so? Or did it stop you from being another version of who you had hoped to be?
I would say it goes both ways. Because yes, it really goes both ways, because despite the fact that it gave me that push to want to be somebody, I believe that what I am today is because of stigmatization. But at a certain point, you also discover that there are certain things that you are afraid to dare because of the stigmatization. There are times that it really lived with me. Even when I was mature enough, I had gone to school, I was working, I was still living in that place, that small place like that in my village, where I'll hear those voices like, okay, you are not worthy enough. It made me to fear. I was afraid to dare into so many things. Well, if I want to do this thing, will I fail? And if I fail, it means that I'm going back to what they have been saying about me. So I can say the fear of failure made me not to dare in everything that I wanted to. But again, trying to prove myself also made me to dare in so many things.
So it's both ways.
So it was both ways. But I realized something, that people stigmatize only when they really don't understand. So instead of getting angry, instead of getting sad, I've decided, I took this decision, and that's why I'm here today, to fight with awareness.
Right. Great way to, bank on that and use the negative for positive. That's great. So in your opinion, what is the best way? You already gave one, turn the negative into positive. How would you, if you were to advise communities, how would you advise people to deal with stigma? And also in your place of work, if you were to advise your colleagues, for example, on sickle cell disease and how they should stop the stigma, how would you bring them to understand things?
The best way to advise is through education. The more people know better, the more they act better. Most people act out of ignorance. So I believe that through education, through empathy, we can be able to break stigma. I just want to, for example, at my place of work, we are all learned. Somebody will not look at you as a witch, but somebody will look at you as I've had this a liability. Yes, a liability, somebody that is just winding time and waiting for death to come. So those are some of the things. Yes. Now, education is very good because I want us to really be open about sickle cell. People will obviously talk about malaria. Where I'm not sick, I'm sick. I'm in the hospital. I've diagnosed me. I have malaria plus, for example. Somebody will say, "Where I have diabetes. I'm a diabetic patient. I am not feeling fine because I had low sugar or my sugar had gone up and things like this." But why is it difficult for a sickle cell patient to say, "I am a sickle cell patient. I am under this attack," because of lack of education and empathy. So I would want to say that if we want to fight the stigma, we have to speak out. If we want to fight the stigma, we have to educate. It's time for us to rise up, to raise our voices, to normalize conversations around sickle cell disease. That's the only way we can be able to wipe out stigma.
Wow. That's a lot of take home there. Education being key. Okay, now there is this common apprehension in not only the place of work, but that there's this common apprehension that I've seen with warriors or even those who are just carriers, who are in career or about to get into career, and you already raised some of it. It is the fear of not being employed or not being able to be retained. Do you think this is a valid concern? And if you had advice for young people living with sickle cell disease, how would you help a warrior in this area to approach career life?
Wow, I will say here that their fear is real. It is real. I lived it too. But I want them to know that every sickle cell patient out there should be given a chance to prove that they are more than what, or they are beyond their health status. My advice is that sickle cell patients should be able to prepare, to position themselves, to perform with excellence, such that what their skills will speak louder than their condition. That is one way of doing it. Their skills should be able to speak louder than their conditions. It is a known fact. I don't know, I cannot back it scientifically, but from my own experience and observation, that sickle cell warriors are very intelligent and determined people. So let us use our pain as our power. We'll always fail, but we should not fall and then we remain on the ground. When we fall, if we need rest, we rest, and we stand up, we pick up, we try again, and again until we get it. That is what I can say. And I will also advise, because it worked for me, though I'm still finding my feet in getting jobs done at home, but let them get into ICT, into the IT world. That is, it is being made easier for us today and better. People can be able to work from home if they have the right skills. So it's better for them to get themselves trained in those skills, such that if they cannot work outdoors, they can also be able to make themselves valuable indoors.
Transform pain into power. That's a very powerful statement there. And I hope that some warrior out there gets it, some caregiver there uses it to encourage their warrior, and some stakeholder out there sees it as something that they can use and transform to better work on the issue of sickle cell disease care and advocacy. Now, we're still talking about sickle cell disease and career and professional life, because you encompass so many different expertise. And in your opinion, should there be like policies within companies to make people living with complex health situations like sickle cell disease more at ease in the labor market and at the place of work? Should there be like laws that should protect people living with sickle cell disease and other complex health conditions at the place of work?
Yes, they should. I think so. We need a lot of compassionate policies. We need empathic-driven human resource systems. We need inclusion, because inclusion is not about charity, it's about justice for me. So looking at the labor laws and policies, I think that policies that prohibit discrimination can be implemented. Discrimination based on genetic or hereditary diseases, chronic health diseases like sickle cell disease. For example, we have heard of prohibiting discrimination against gender, against disability. Why not include hereditary? Why not include genetic? That is one way to amend. And then we can, the Ministry of Labor can, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, try to publish reasonable guidelines that can also help to accommodate sickle cell warriors in their place of work. For example, things like flexible hours of work, things like medical leave, things like rest, temperature control. I'm saying all this because I went through. My maneuvers in life have been so many. I've worked in both the private and the public sector. Mm-hmm. I've worked in places where I didn't have a specific hour or program of work. So I can go to work at 8 a.m. and I leave at 10 p.m. and I leave at midnight at the discretion of my superior without taking a lot into consideration. So without taking my condition into consideration. I have worked in places where I didn't have any leave at all, talk less of my medical leave. The only time I can be allowed out of work is when I'm on a hospital bed. Mm-hmm. And I cannot do anything. Like I've worked in areas where I don't have break. Once your superior is on seat, you don't go out. So how do I break? How do I refresh myself? How and things like that. I've worked in areas where I have to work under cold condition, AC, 16, 12, without consideration of my health. So those are things that I have lived in real life. So I want to believe that if these can be taken into consideration in the labor policies, then it will really give us a chance to work a lot. I listed some of the complications that I had. I want to believe that some of them are caused by the accumulated things that I did in my life, in my school life, in my work life, in order to survive. So those are some of the things that could have been taken into consideration to prevent some of these. The human resource managers can also, or employers should also look at the skills and potentials when hiring, and not whether you are a sickle cell patient or not whether you can survive under cold weather or not whether you can survive long hours in the office or not. That should not be the basis. The basis should be, do you have the skills? Do you have the potentials? Also, they can evaluate your work based on your productivity, on your skill, and not on physical endurance, because there are workplaces where your presence means more than even the work that you cover, which is not the case in a sickle cell warrior, because most at times they might not be there present, but the time that they have, like what I usually do is that I explained already, I push myself to go further when I'm strong, when I have the energy, so that it can cover up for the days that I am not available. So I just want to believe that if our voices could be heard, if the labor policies could be amended, then we create a workplace that is understanding. We will be able to build a stronger organization, and one that is full of compassion and human.
That's really very impressive. Very impressive. And I take home a lot of things there. We will be right back after this short break. Hello, have you ever heard about sickle cell disease? Are you a person living with sickle cell disease, or are you caring for someone living with sickle cell disease? Are you wondering how to go about doing this? Well, we may just be able to help you. Read our online magazine, So Just Be. Soldiers Be is a sickle cell lifestyle magazine in which we talk about everything that has to do with sickle cell. We talk about living with sickle cell as men or women. We talk about sickle cell complications, and we propose how to live with each of these complications and how to manage it to the best of your abilities. We bring in our doctors to give us advice. We speak about the best kinds of food to eat for our little ones. We speak about love, and we speak about faith in sickle cell disease. We educate the younger ones, and of course, we talk travel. Are you somebody who is a fashionista? Come and read our fashion pages and learn how to dress chic but still keeping warm and keeping yourself healthy and protected so as not to get a sickle cell crisis. Read us on our pages on Cameo. Follow us online. We are Soldiers Be, and you can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Read our pages now. Read Soldiers Be. Welcome back to Sickle Cell Role Models and Mentors. We hope you did enjoy the short break. We are still talking with our role model and mentor of the day, Mrs. Akwa Constance Nji. So you have a rich background and are involved in a lot of professional work. What spurred the sickle cell advocacy part of your work?
I would say advocacy was never a choice. It was a calling. Because I have seen so many people suffering. I myself have gone through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and I knew that I had to be that voice. Even though sometimes the voice do tremble, even though isolation and rejection made me to bury my voice, but even when I told myself that, even when I knew that my voice was buried, it was not actually buried. I was not coming out in public as I am now talking, but in my small corner, I was sensitizing. I had to speak to different people, one-on-one, individuals, warriors, parents, caregivers, and also those who had other health conditions that could be managed even easily than sickle cell, but they thought that the war had ended for them. I saw myself getting to them, giving advice, counseling, using myself as an example. And I gradually saw change and transformation in their lives. So with education and getting into the education sector, I gradually built up the courage and the voice. And that is why we can talk of break sickle cycle. That is why we can talk of Women on a Mission, where I'm making my voice heard. And that is one of the reasons why I am here in front of you today. And we are chatting on this because I know that I am ready to cry out to the world today. I'm ready to break the silence, ready to break the stigma, ready to normalize conversations around sickle cell, support and create a safe environment for those who are already suffering, and also making sure that the entire population try to know their genotype, make informed decisions that will actually reduce the prevalence of sickle cell disease.
So you are project manager of Break Sickle Cycle, and you've been working a lot on projects in schools. Why the choice of schools?
Well, school, I would say, first of all, yes, because I'm a curriculum developer, and schools because that is where most dreams are born. And sadly, I want to say again that is where sometimes stigma even begins, especially in our world of today with the Gen Zs and the likes. Those children can laugh at somebody. I am in their milieu. I know what they do. So taking this to them is like planting a seed of understanding at an early age. Now, when these students are able to learn about sickle cell, talk about sickle cell, they grow as adults already accepting it. already being as part and parcel of them and supporting the fight against it. And it will also help them in the long run in their adult life to be able to make informed reproductive decisions. As such, we will be breaking the cycle. And I want to believe that if we want change, it will not start from us, the adults, it will begin from the base. So this is the seed, this is the base where this change have to come. So some of us did not even have that privilege to know a lot when we were children. We were just growing without guidance, without direction, and I had to learn on my own, learn a lot on my own before coming out of my shell. So putting this information to them at this time means that we are already creating a base for change.
Great. So changing from bottom up, not only from top to the bottom. Excellent.
That's right.
In your different actions that you do with regarding to sickle cell disease awareness, would you say that there is a reception of the information by the general audience in Cameroon? Is there a reception by, for example, administrative authorities or government or policymakers, or even let's start from the school authorities? Do people really accept this information, or is it a conversation that is uncomfortable for them?
I would like to say that, yes, there is reception. People are beginning to listen. I carried out a program that was aired on CRE TV on the 6th and the 27th or 22nd of last month. And after that program, I had a lot of calls. Parents were calling, caregivers were calling, warriors were calling. And even fans, those who are friends with warriors, those who have heard about it and they want to know more about it, they were calling. This just goes a long way to show that people are out there. They want to get information, they need support, they need a voice to speak out. School administrations, there are also, some of them are very receptive. Some of them, protocol, we have to pass through the delegation. We have to before we can be received. But in all, they are opening their doors for us. But we are still very far. I can just say this is just the beginning. We need a government action, a national policy that will treat sickle cell like a public health priority that truly is. In Cameroon, we have the National Strategy Plan to Fight Against Sickle Cell 2025 to 2030. It came out, it came out early this year. And according to this document, you discover that there are just 10 health facilities in Cameroon located in just 2 regions that are there, that have been placed to cater for sickle cell. These 2 regions, we have the littoral, we have the center region. So looking at it, it is in the urban centers, 2 out of the lots. It means that even in the same regions, if you need attention, you might need to travel far and wide to get to that center in that region.
Not to talk of those coming from elsewhere.
That is it. So it's really not easy. And they are mostly concentrated on neonatal screening. The strategy is good, I accept. But to me, that is not the best. Why? Because why not shift resources maybe to screening the youth, the adults who are at the stage of decision making, to get them aware, to counsel them and make them to prevent the prevalence of sickle cell disease, rather than waiting for them to make the errors and have the baby. We are trying to take care of the babies. So I had an issue with that, a serious issue with that. But that notwithstanding, it's still a good thing because there are still baby born in areas where sensitization has not reached, that we need to cater for, and there are also sickle cell warriors that we have to cater for. But looking at this, we see that it is really minute. Imagine that the thousands of babies that are born every day with sickle cell, these centers cannot cater for their needs. Out of every 4 Cameroonian, 1 is a carrier. So if we don't do something fast at that rate, it means that sickle cell will be multiplying very soon. So in as much as there are things that they're struggling to put in place, we still have to do a lot in that aspect. We still have to, there are so many areas. I just cited the area where I came from, the community I came from, rural community, underserved community that are still greatly affected. They are still attributing it to witchcraft and other barbaric beliefs and curses. So they have a great deal in terms of awareness, in terms of research, and also in terms of creating a comprehensive care system, because what we really have in place cannot really cater. Sickle cell is I say it is a multi-sectorial disease because it touches everything. We need a cardiologist, we need a hematologist, we need a pediatrist, we need a neurologist, and everything put together. So we still have a long way to go.
Sickle cell, a multi-sectoral disease. That's the big one there. And I always say it's a development disease, not just a health issue. It has become a development issue because it cuts across all parts of society and affects generally all of national development. And you just said it there. It's a multi-sectoral disease. So there is this rising global call for sickle cell disease education and awareness to be tailored and adapted into school curricula. As a curriculum development expert that you are, what is your take on this, especially concerning Cameroon?
I would like to shout it out that it's long overdue because I'm in the sector and we should be doing something. Can you just imagine a situation where every child knows about sickle cell, knows how it's inherited, how to prevent it? Then we are saving thousands of lives already. So to me, the integration of sickle cell disease into our curriculum is not just about education. It's a method of prevention. It is a method of empowerment. It is an act of compassion. It is even a measure or an economic measure. It's a measure of reducing poverty. Because I bet you the amount of money that we spend, that I have spent, I would have been a rich woman in some way.
In the Bahamas.
So, I'm just thinking that the government of Cameroon, through the ministry, we can start from the base, through the Ministry of Basic Education and Secondary Education, can issue out directives on how to integrate sickle cell awareness into school subjects. For example, we can have health education or civic education, because to me, knowing your genotype and preventing it or how to prevent it, it should be a civic right. It should be something that everybody does it. Then they can get in the experts, the curriculum experts like us, to come in now and see how we can design, they can design the programs. We can carry out need assessment to know about the existing knowledge, awareness, level of knowledge for students, for teachers, for health staff, and so on, to be able to integrate it. Last month, when we were carrying out the sensitization in Douala, the team went to one school, and as they were entering the school, there was a situation, and it was a sickle cell patient. Instantly, the doctors had to step in to help, and they discovered that even though they have a healthcare unit, the people there are not trained. They don't understand what is happening. They had to learn from the break sickle cycle team a lot about sickle cell. We're just going there for sensitization. We didn't know that that's what we're going to meet, because people are out there and they don't have this knowledge. So I believe that if curriculum developers can assess this need, can be able to assess existing content and see how they can integrate the appropriate content into the curriculum, appropriate pedagogic materials, and also be able, with maybe in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, to train teachers, build their capacities on the basics of sickle cell prevention strategies, counseling techniques, and means of maybe referring students, referring to the nearest hospitals and things like this. It will really help. Now, at the level of the higher institutions, sickle cell should be something that the students, the doctors and the students, they take as a priority. I'm talking especially at the level of medical schools.
Mm.
A lot of medical doctors know about sickle cell, like, okay, there is a disease that exists like sickle cell, but they don't have enough knowledge, sufficient knowledge about sickle cell. It's not their area. They have not specialized in it. And most often in their schools, as medical students, they can graduate after 7 years, having just a few hours of lesson on sickle cell. I remember in June this year, we had a symposium in the University of Douala Faculty of Medicine. And you could see how the medical students were like really ignorant about sickle cell. A lot of them were ignorant about sickle cell, like
In a
seriously.
country where 1 out of 4 people have sickle
So you
cell.
can
Wow.
imagine, we had to bring in expert hematologists, psychologists to talk to the medical students about sickle cell, and carried out a free genotype screening. More than 100 students were screened. They don't even know their genotype. So these are things that I think that it is really important that we take into consideration in our educational system.
So the development of curriculum has to be for you, not just in primary school, but even in the universities,
Even in the
training the future
universities.
doctors. Okay.
Yes, training the medical doctors. Because most of them, especially the general practitioners, they only get to know, to learn about it in their field of work by experience. Then they can start learning, or they get to go for specialization as hematologists and things like that before they can have enough knowledge on sickle cell. So I think it's a cry for help. We need it
Right.
like now. Yes.
That's a big call there, and we hope that this call, as limited as our listeners listen, will have some policy people who would listen and be able to make this a reality. Now we continue. You are a warrior, you are a professional, you are a curriculum development expert, and you've been living with sickle cell disease all this while in Cameroon. Let's talk about access to medication. How is
Yeah.
it like accessing medication in Cameroon for somebody with sickle cell disease? Let's start with basic things, painkiller, folic acid, and then we move on to maybe hydroxyurea.
Painkiller, folic acid, it's not easy. I'm still taking myself as an example. When I was growing up, my main drug was folic acid and paracetamol. And I bet you that paracetamol in excruciating pain is like, I don't know. I cannot even explain. So most often, that paracetamol is just a preventive kind of thing that does not stop your work. You are feeling, maybe I have this pain here, let me just take paracetamol and see why I'm going about my daily activities. I cannot really classify it as a drug for sickle cell patients, but most often that is what is available, affordable. That is what is affordable. Folic acid, even folic acid is not affordable, because in the pharmacy, I buy a packet of folic acid for about 1,900 francs CFA, 1,700 francs CFA. That's a pack of about 25. Now, there are other packs that you can get for 2,500 that you might need to drink maybe two of those packs. The pack for 1,700 is about 2 packs per month, because it's not up to 30 tablets in it. So I am imagining that child in the village that has to live on that drug. It's
On a
not
daily
easy.
basis.
Folic acid. Going to the painkillers, we are talking about paracetamol. We are talking about maybe efferegan and other things that they can easily take. It's not easy. And most often, it doesn't even end there when it comes to painkillers. Those are just minute painkillers that gets you going. But when you are in pain, that is not what they give you. So then hydroxyurea, it's another level in Cameroon. I buy a packet of that in Cameroon, a packet of 20 for 7,500. That 20 is not for 20 days. For an adult like me who takes 2 tablets per day, 20 is for 10 days. So that money has to be 75 times 3 to get a complete dose
So
for
1
1
month.
month. These are things that we live on a daily basis. It's like the water that we drink. So how do we survive? Now, I remember 2022, 2023, when I was in the hospital, the painkillers that they gave me were out of, I don't know, and very expensive because I was in excruciating pain such that a single painkiller could not solve my problem. So at one time, the hospital, they had to do what they were calling panache cocktail. They will mix and then they pass it through my drip. They'll mix a series of them and pass it through my drip. And each of them is very expensive. I had to take, I don't even want to go to maybe if you are fighting infections, the drugs that you have to take.
The
Then
antibiotics company.
antibiotics is a different level. I had one based on my condition. I was taking one injection. One packet was about 10,000 francs, between 10 and 12,000 francs one. And I had to take 3 per day, morning, afternoon, and evening. So that was about 30,000 francs a day. I don't know. Tell me, if you cannot afford it, if you don't have the means, what happens to you? Sickle cell, I don't know. It's one of the causes of poverty in Cameroon. People don't know that yet, but that is the truth. Because apart from your normal drugs, when you are healthy, that you say you can buy for a few thousands, the rest is history. I had to live on Xarelto because I had issues with blood clotting in my lungs. Xarelto is 16,100 francs per packet of 12 tablets. So those are some of the realities that we face. It's not easy. So these patients, they actually need support in terms of medical care. It's really necessary because most of us cannot afford to buy our drugs. As a student, when I left home and I came to Yaoundé, I was hustling. I did secretarial work. Most at times, I could not even afford. I was not taking. There were times that now, when I fall sick now, I'll be forced to, okay, let me push it to some extent with the means that I have. And that's the reality of most Cameroonians. Some of them don't take it. They are forced to start drinking one concoction or another and other things, looking for solutions everywhere that they can because it's difficult for them to afford those drugs.
If you were to advise the authorities at the Ministry of Public Health, would you say that there is need for maybe a kind of insurance that helps to subsidize medication, or that this medication be subsidized in a way that patients can get them at cheaper prices? What would be your advice?
Subsidized medication that they can get at cheaper prices. Insurance in Cameroon is a different level. At one point in time, I even wanted to go for an insurance policy. The insurance companies here, I've had a bitter experience with them. At one time, I was advised to go through my bank to get an insurance policy. But insuring somebody with a chronic disease like sickle cell is not what they go in for and things like that. So it's really complicated. So I would advise for subsidization of drugs for sickle cell patients. If it is subsidized, it will really help. The Idria that we are talking about, it's not even available. That's one thing. There are times you are chronic, you know that, okay, you can only get it in this pharmacy. You will not even have time and money to get another. You go there, they will not even accept to sell you 2 packets because it's not available. Since it's like, I once asked in the pharmacy what was really going on. They said the Idria is not just for sickle cell patients, cancer patients to depend on it too. So I don't really know. And then at times it's just like they make it scarce. At times I have to ask northwest, southwest, center, where I can have it. But I've heard some people getting it maybe out of the country. It comes in different packaging and maybe much more cheaper. But how many people have that access?
Not much.
So I will really plead if there is a way to subsidize drugs in particular for sickle cell patients. Some of them have to get to the extreme before they consider taking drugs because they cannot buy it on a daily basis.
Now, one of the therapies, if I would use the word therapies, or one of the things that's also used in sickle cell disease care in hospitals is blood. So how is blood transfusion like in Cameroon? Have you had some? And how does it work? Is it something that's easy to access?
Not at all. Not at all. The last time I had blood transfusion, that was last year. I don't want to go to the other years. You are there. You have come to the hospital in a critical situation. I've prescribed blood. You have to get the blood donors by yourself. That's the first thing. While you are there, the nurses are waiting for the blood to come. The doctors are waiting for the blood to come for them to administer. They will refer you to the blood bank. When you go to the blood bank, the first criteria is bring donors. When you successfully get the donors, they have to run tests, decide who is compatible, and until they collect the blood from the blood donors. It's not like they're collecting the blood from those blood donors to give you directly. They already have blood treated and everything that they have. Until they are able to collect the blood for the blood donors, then you pay for the treatment of that blood before they can issue you a blood. So you have to bring 2 blood donors for 1 pint of blood. So they collect from 2 people. They give you 1 pint and you pay approximately 17,000. I lay there on that bed for 3 days before I was transfused.
That is the time when the blood count can even go lower.
So it's something else.
Wow. I'm speechless. If there was something to be done to make access to blood easier, what would you suggest?
I'll still come back to sensitization. Let's sensitize the public on the importance of donating blood. Because most people, they are not even aware that they can go and donate their blood to save a life. So we can start at that level of sensitization. We sensitize a lot of people on that. And then the hospitals too should also be considerate. You can save a life while working on the blood. That is another thing. You can save a life while working on the blood. It's true that you can have access to the blood without a donor, but you pay much more expensive. But most often they don't even give you that option unless it is really something else. With emergency, maybe with the intervention of the people there and things like that. So I will start by saying that we can organize more sensitization about blood, sensitize the public more about blood donation so that they can go to the hospitals and help fill our blood banks.
There is something I've seen being done a lot in the West. It's like blood drives. Is that something that you think would be something if implemented in Cameroon that could work well, coming after the sensitization?
Yeah, I think so. Because if the sensitization comes, people are aware, then the blood drive follows. And let me tell you something about Cameroonians. They say, what you don't know does not kill you. Most people, unless it is at the peak, like the people that have to come to donate blood, like, okay, let me go. Whatever disease they see in my body, I'll accept it. Because so many people are afraid because when you go for that, you have to be tested. So like, what I don't know does not kill me. Let me not go into yes. So those are some of the things that we have to remove out of their minds. And that is only through sensitization.
So
And
people
then
are afraid to go get to donate
give
blood
blood
because they're afraid to
because
know what kind of ailment they may have.
they may have, yeah.
Wow. It has been a pleasure talking to you, Mrs. Akwa Constance. Before I leave you, I have one question for you. Tell us one crazy thing that you have done in your life, even with sickle cell disease posing a risk.
Wow. Hey, I once went for an adventure, and that adventure included trekking kilometers for us.
Whoa.
It was not only that, I had to climb some hills, but I was so excited about it. And I was like, okay, I know that this is risky, but let me try. Then I was still young. I did that. I'm not sure I can do that again today because the body has had some complications. I cannot really stand for a very long time. So I don't think that I can dare into something like that again. But that was a very long time ago. But recently, I also tried something crazy. I like to go to the pool, but I
Mm.
know that we have issues with water, cold water, but mine in particular is a real trigger for me. So when I go, I can just turn around, I take my pictures, I entertain myself, I can put my legs in water for a short period of time and remove. But this time around, I went all in, my body and everything. My friends and sisters were shouting, "You are on your own, no." I don't have power to massage. You are on your own. This thing that you are doing like that. I said, these people should leave me to enjoy myself a bit. But I had to weigh the temperature of the water. I had to test the temperature of the water, not weighing, test the temperature of the water. And then the overhead sun was really good. So I soaked myself a bit just to test how it feels. That, and then I
Have a
got
pool
out.
experience.
Yes. I got out immediately, had a warm bath, and changed into warm clothing. It
Okay.
is risky. That's why I say you have to know yourself.
Hmm.
But in such times, I also know that when you are determined, when you have purpose, you can go very far. There are things that you can accomplish even in the situation that you are.
Thank you so much. Well, we won't advise anybody to try it until,
No,
as we
no,
say,
no. You
know yourself. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mrs. Akwa Constance Nji. Thank you for your time and thank you for all the advice and for the great work you're doing, being a professional and then also as an advocate and being, I would say, an ideally role model for warriors, but also for warrior girls who are running away from the STEM. A lot of girls are not into STEM, and we hope that more role models like you who are into the sciences could encourage a lot of parents when they see and listen and be able to say, ah, my young warrior lady, my young warrior princess in the house can also aspire to be like this. And so they will be able to fight whatever society puts in their brains, like the cliches that, oh, don't spend time on higher education, she won't go far. So thank you so much for being with us. We remind our guests that our role model of today was Mrs. Akwa Constance Nji, who is an educator, an author, a data scientist, a machine learning engineer. She's also project manager of Brick Sickle Cycle, CEO and co-founder of Women on a Mission, a geoscientist, and a sickle cell advocate and a warrior herself. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure being on this show and be able to add my voice to yours and to the rest of the world.
Thank you. And we wish our listeners, our viewers, a very wonderful day. See you next month for another edition of Sickle Cell Role Models and Mentors. Goodbye and God bless you all.
Yeah.